In this video, we're going to look at the two different forms of reproduction, sexual and asexual reproduction. So reproduction is the ability to make a new generation, and that leads to the two methods of reproduction. We can have asexual reproduction, and this is the process of forming a new individual from a single or only one parent, where sexual reproduction is the process of forming a new individual from two parents. So asexual reproduction is done mainly by bacteria, but there are some insects and fish that are capable of reproducing asexually. As we learned with prokaryote reproduction, binary fission produces offspring that are identical to the parent. And I believe we've also talked about how the advantage of this is that it's very fast, and it's also a relatively simple process. If a species has ideal conditions, the right amount of nutrients, the right amount of space, 100 bacteria can divide to produce 1,000,000 bacteria in just a few hours. So there are a couple disadvantages to asexual reproduction, and one of those disadvantages is that the genes or good traits from two parents won't and can't be mixed, and so this allows for bad genes or genes that are harmful to a species will keep getting passed on to each following generation. There are three types of asexual reproduction, and we talked about binary fission, and this is where the organism grows and divides in half. So that would be right here with your bacteria. Then we have regeneration, and this is when we regrow a part or a whole new individual. So example, flatworms, if they're torn into two, it will grow into two individual worms. Same with a starfish over here. If it were to lose a piece of its arm, it would be able to regrow part of its arm back. Lastly, for asexual reproduction, we have budding, and this is when a parent cell forms a bubble-like bud. So this one would be the parent cell, and this little guy would be that bubble bud. And that bud will stay attached to the parent while it grows and develops, and it will break away eventually after it fully forms. So this one right here must have just formed off of this parent. And so the organisms that perform budding are yeast. So there's budding. Sexual reproduction, again, this is where we involve two parents, and the two parents each produce their gametes or their sex cells. The egg is the female gamete, and the male gamete is the sperm. And if you look over here, we have a picture of a sperm, and here would be the female egg. Fertilization is the process of joining the two gametes, which is what's happening here. And once fertilization is complete, the cell that forms is called the zygote, and this is the very first cell of a new organism. And so I kind of think it's backward that the first cell starts with the last letter of the alphabet. In order for the sperm to meet the egg, it can either be done through external fertilization or internal fertilization. External fertilization is where the eggs are fertilized outside of the body. That EX is kind of like exit or outside, just like fertilization outside of the body. Fish and other species that live in water do this. What happens is the female fish will release her eggs into the water, and then the male fish will come along and release his sperm. And so that's what we've got here. That blue pile is a pile of eggs, and that may have been fertilized by sperm. Here in Minnesota, we see this in the springtime, and we call it spawning, when there'll be a group of the similar species that release their eggs and sperm in a general location or near each other, and this increases the likelihood that the sperm will meet the egg. Internal fertilization is reproduction that occurs through the internal deposit of gametes, and that means that the males will deposit the sperm directly into the female. This is how most land animals reproduce, including humans. So again, we have your sperm and the egg. In this picture, it's pretty easy to see that there's quite a big size difference between the sperm and the egg. And so it can take multiple sperm in order to get into that egg. In sexually reproducing species, each cell of the body has 2 copies of each chromosome. So humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes for a total of 46. So we get 23 from mom, and then another 23 from dad. So 23 plus 23 gave us 46. And so what you can see over here in this image, this is called a karyotype. And this shows you how the chromosomes are matched up. And they get numbered 1 through 22. And you can see that there's a pair in each set for a total of 26. Our last set are our sex chromosomes that determine our boy or girl genders. So a haploid cell will have half the number of pairs of chromosomes. Half, I think we're missing the word half up here. And diploid cells are cells that have the total number of chromosomes. So in the human body, all of our cells are diploid except our sex cells or our gametes. So that means your XY will be your sex chromosomes if you're a boy, and XX are the chromosomes for a girl. And so then your sperm is haploid, so it will have 23 chromosomes. And eggs are also haploid, and they will also have 23 chromosomes. But when the sperm and egg combine, we now have a diploid cell with 23 plus 23 chromosomes for a total of 46 chromosomes. Homologous chromosomes are the 2 members of a pair of chromosomes. So this right here is a homologous chromosome. And so tomorrow we'll take a look at how the chromosomes divide in order to produce our sex cells.